Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dylan Osman here with Calf Kick Sports, and I am once again joined by a very, very special guest. Now, UFC light heavyweight Julius Juicebox. The big show. You made it.
Yes, sir, man. It's freaking crazy, but now it was never enough to just make it there. It's time to prove we belong now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So it's been obviously a whirlwind last few days. Just what was it, Thursday or Friday?
Mm-hmm.
News came out. Omar Sy was out of his fight with Alonzo Menifield. UFC Seattle cards kind of falling apart a little bit. They've gotten some good replacements, obviously, but a lot of pullouts in the last week or so. I was at work. I see the notification. Julius Walker stepping in on short notice. Talk to me about what that process was like from your end. Call, probably hearing from Jason House, getting this opportunity. What were those kind of couple days like for you?
Yeah, so on Wednesday afternoon, Jason messaged me and was like, "Hey, can you make 205 next weekend?" And knowing that I already had a fight scheduled and him saying that, I was like, "Oh, that's the UFC." So I immediately responded, said, "Yep, I sure can. I'll find a way. I don't care." I was supposed to be fighting at heavyweight, so I had actually been kind of trying to maintain a little. I was trying to stay around 235 for my heavyweight fight, and for me to do that, I got to eat, and I'd been eating. And Jason messages me, says, "Can you make 205 next weekend?" And I'm like, "Yep, we'll do it." And then he's like, "There might be an opening." I said, "I'm ready to go." He said, "Send me some videos of your fights." I sent him the videos. And then he was like, "Mick's offering you Alonzo Menifield next weekend in Seattle." I said, "Let's go. I'm ready." And then I had the contract in my email within an hour of whenever he said, "Can you make 205 next weekend?" So it was, I went to lunch with one of my buddies and then get home. Hour later, I'm in the UFC.
It's crazy, man. It's that fast. And you've kind of spoken about this plan. You don't want to cut weight more than, say, 30 times in your career. You've already had a certain amount. You've talked about your UFC path, that being the goal. So does this kind of fit right in with that kind of predetermined path and idea you've had for your career moving forward so far?
Yeah, 100%. And I think, honestly, this is even better than I could have imagined it. I thought for sure that I would have to get through Contender Series before I would get, locked down into a UFC contract. So I thought I would have to win probably one regional fight, which I had scheduled. I was going to get through that fight, and then I was thinking I'd probably have to do Contender Series in the fall. But Jason had told me, he was like, "Man, if you stay ready and you're ready to make weight at a moment's notice, there's a real good chance you'll get an opportunity." So I made sure that I've stayed in shape, ever since I fought Nile. I've kind of had the mindset of like, I need to be ready for whatever opportunity comes. Because I've had it happen before where, I've gotten called for fights that were pretty good opportunities. And then I was just too far away from 205. So trying to make sure that sort of thing never happens again. Like, I know the UFC likes having guys that they can call and, 1 week notice, 3-4 days notice. And I want to become one of those guys that they can call me up and, I'll show up and fight.
Yeah. Well, that's guaranteed, especially with this beginning of your UFC career, I should say. So coming in, obviously you're facing Alonzo Menifield, veteran of the promotion, had his ups and downs. He's definitely beat some good guys, had some, times where he fell short. What's your view on the matchup, and how do you kind of view your guys' skills matching up?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a solid matchup, I think, for me. He's a guy with a really high pedigree. He's a skilled fighter. He's good everywhere. I don't think there's any one spot where there's a huge glaring hole. Like he's a solid grappler. He's got really strong and powerful hands. He's really athletic. He is an older guy. I've definitely got that age advantage with him being 37 and me being 25, and I've got I think I have a little bit of size on him. I'm a little bit taller. I got a little bit of reach on him. So I think I've got a little bit of an advantage there if I can use that to my ability. And I'm pretty confident that I should have a little bit of a cardio advantage too. So if we can make this a little bit of a grind and get into that second, third round, I think that's where I should be able to shine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think that's just a good sign that your cardio is something you're almost leaning on coming in short notice. A lot of times I think people expect the short notice fighter They'll have one round of cardio and maybe gas out. But I think the fact you were preparing for a fight, you've been in camp, keeps you really, really good in shape for that, which is good to see.
100%.
For those who may not be as familiar with you, talk to those fans who might be being introduced to Julius for the first time. What does it look like in a cage for you? What do you like to do? How do you like to, present yourself? And what can they expect from you on Saturday?
Yeah, so I'm kind of I fight at a little bit of a higher pace, I think, than most guys in my weight division. You see a lot of guys at 205 and heavyweight, and they throw maybe 30 or 40 strikes per round. They don't shoot a ton of takedowns. I'm the kind of guy that I'm gonna throw probably a lot more strikes. I'm gonna shoot a lot of takedowns. It's gonna be I'm going to fight at a higher pace. I think that I'm really solid in the clinch and against the cage. I'm a good cage wrestler, and I'm pretty good in the clinch as well. I think once I get on top of people, I have some really strong ground and pound. I'm typically able to end fights pretty quickly if I'm able to posture up and start punching downward on guys. And I think that with this fight, one of the keys and something that I'm going to have to show that I've developed is crisp, straight punches. With me, Alonzo likes to throw a lot of looping punches, and he's a shorter guy, and I'm taller. So I think if I'm able to use crisp, straight punches and keep my head moving and don't just stand in front of him and let him hit me, that I can have some success. But if I just stand there right in front of him, if I don't move my head, if I throw lazy punches, then he'll probably knock me right out.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen some similarities in your game compared to another fighter on this card, actually, who's co-main eventing, Anthony Hernandez. A lot of high pressure, grapple on top strikes. Is that somebody who you would say you've taken some things from and absorbed some of his game into yours?
I've actually watched him a lot. One of my favorite things that he does is his little transition to that arm in guillotine / like seated head and arm that some people call it, to the back. He uses that super, super well. And like in the Michel Pereira fight, watching him use that and watching his transitions on the ground and his ground and pound series. Another thing he does really well is he strikes through transitions super, super, super well. Like he always mixes in a strike or two, because that's really the biggest difference between MMA grappling and jiu-jitsu grappling is in between all of the transitions. In MMA, it's strikes. In jiu-jitsu, it's a little bit more of like getting grips, securing different things, securing underhooks and stuff like that. In MMA, I think the biggest thing, especially when you're on the cage, is the head fight, keeping your head in their chin, creating misalignment of their spine, and then being able to strike through transitions. And that's something I've watched Fluffy do a ton. And then, man, that dude, he just pushes the pace so high that most people, if they're in there with him for more than a round, then they're pretty much done for.
Yeah, again, it's just that pressure and pace, especially at 185, just breaks guys. I mean, it's not many people can keep up with that. So coming into this fight, you fought most of your career for Synergy FC in Missouri. As great as the Shrine is as a venue, it's going to be your first time really in a real venue, Intuit Dome up in Seattle. Are you focused on that aspect at all? Are you excited for the walkout, the experience, the being in the big?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I've just got to soak it all in. You know what I mean? Enjoy the experience, but focus on the task at hand. I played basketball in college, and whenever I was a freshman in college, I played Division II ball, but we played the number one team in the country, Bellarmine University, who actually is a Division I team now. Whenever we played them, we were playing in front of 5,200 people, and 5,200 people in that gym was absolutely packed. And it was on the road, so they're screaming at you. They've looked up your Instagram and they know your girlfriend's name, and you're at the free throw line and they're screaming your girlfriend's name, that sort of thing. So, I've been in front of some decent sized crowds before. I can't say I've been in front of 17,000 people. But at the end of the day, once that cage door locks and it's me, Alonzo, and the referee in there, I think I'll be pretty locked in and focused. Honestly, like I think it's a little crazy to say, but I haven't gotten super nervous about this, just because the way that I look at it is fighting is something that all of us as fighters, we do it every day. We go to the gym. Don't get nervous to go to the gym and spar. You don't get nervous to spar with guys. If you think about it like this, whoever you're fighting next, if you were at the bar and you and your girl were out having some drinks and your opponent came up and slapped your girl on the ass, you probably wouldn't get too nervous and start worrying about it. You would just handle business. But just because we have a specific date where we have to weigh in at the same time and we get out in our underwear and it's in front of people, guys build it up a lot more in their heads into something more than it is. At the end of the day, we're just two guys fighting in their underwear on people's television. So, I think it's one of those things, man, where I'm just gonna soak up the moment, and once that cage door locks, I think I can't respect him too much. Just got to go at him and try to make it my fight, not try to fight his fight. I think a lot of guys in their debut fight not to lose, and I think the key for me is I got to go out there and fight to win, give myself a chance.
Yeah, that's a very good point, a very good quote right there. Fight. Obviously, it's been a long journey for you to get here, long amateur career, now 6 pro fights. Talk to me just a little bit about the support network that you have. Obviously, I know your wife, Paige, has been huge for you just in this, journey, supporting you throughout all that. Obviously, your team and, teammates and gym to this point in this, major landmark in your career, frankly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, it's been crazy. My wife has sacrificed a ton for me to get here. I think oftentimes you hear fighters talking about all the sacrifices that they've made and the things that they've had to do. I think honestly what might mean even more to me is the sacrifices that those around me have made. My wife has given up a lot to dedicate herself to helping me pursue this dream. We've kind of set our lives up around me chasing this dream with no guarantees that it's going to work out. And she's kind of put her faith in me, and there's no way I could ever put into words how much that means to me. My daughters have sacrificed a lot. They sacrificed a lot of time with me as I pursued this. My family sacrificed time with me as well, and they've all poured into me and supported me on this journey. My teammates especially. Anytime I need extra work, there are guys that are willing to just show up to the gym at a moment's notice and put some work in with me and help me out. And that's something that's been really helpful. Some of these guys that are they're amateurs, so they know that they're showing up to the gym to get beat up for an hour. And they still show up and give it their all. Shout out to Spencer Michaud and Jack Hewitt. Those are 2 of our amateurs at the gym. They both only had 2 fights. They're both 2-0 at 205. But they show up and they work with me every chance that they get and every time I need it. And a huge shout out to my coaches as well, man. They've poured a ton of time and effort into me for not a lot of money. They are not making very much per hour coaching me, and that would be my coach Brad Montgomery, my boxing coach Will Grover, and my strength coach Taylor Ramsdale. Those guys have dedicated a lot of time and effort, and they've all gone above and beyond even what I've asked of them, and I can't speak enough for that. And then also shout out to Iridium Sports Agency and Jason House, because they have also gone above and beyond in terms of providing me support. Like whenever I've had issues with my gear, they've sent me new gear. Whenever I've needed help being able to, like I wasn't able to afford supplements for a while there, and they started helping me out with my supplements and stuff like that. They helped me out with whenever you get signed to the UFC, the paperwork and medicals is something that you've never dealt with before. It's kind of a whole new level of like, you've got to do all this paperwork and all these medicals, and they've been really helpful in making sure that I get it all done. And like when I went out to Vegas, they kind of gave me a little bit of a preview. Like they helped me tour the PI and everything. And it was one of those things where it stuck in my head, like, man, this could be me one day. And then shoot, that was like 3 or 4 weeks ago that I was in Vegas. So it's all kind of came to fruition incredibly fast.
Yeah. So before we go, I actually do want to ask you one more question. I want to ask you about your trip to Vegas. You did mention headed down there, trained some, fantastic gyms, got some rounds in an Extreme Couture, some other places as well. What was that experience like? What was the biggest thing you took away from that? And just how was that getting to get some rounds in with some of the most high level coaches and guys in the world?
Man, that experience was incredible. I got some jiu-jitsu training in at Drysdale's Jiu-Jitsu. That's who we're affiliated with. So I'm a purple belt under Rob, and he took he dedicated some specific time to help me out and show me some things and shore up just there are a couple of things that he tweaked just ever so slightly, and there are tweaks that you almost laugh at how obvious they almost seem when somebody actually tells you it. And I'm like, man, that's pretty crazy. So he definitely helped me a lot. And then I went to Extreme Couture, and if I'm being honest, I was a little. Whenever I was walking in there, I was slightly nervous, but those guys were incredibly welcoming, and everybody treated me really well. You know what I mean? Obviously, whenever we were sparring and we were getting our rounds in, we were going hard and we got good rounds in. But I feel like I'm able to take care of myself in that aspect, and I think that all of the guys showed me a lot of love and respect and gave me some like very, very encouraging words. Like Ebo Aslan specifically he took some of his time to give me a little bit of advice after we trained together, and he was really, really cool. So I'm actually really excited that I get to be there and be in the same card as him. He's a really cool guy. And then Strickland actually as well. He came up and talked to me whenever I first got there, and just the fact that I'm just some random regional guy, and he was willing to say what's up and give me some encouraging words meant a lot. And Alex Polizzi, he helped me out as well. All those guys were honestly really cool and really nice. So I've got nothing but good things to say about them. And it's it's a cool culture out there, because I think at the end of the day, everybody knows that if push comes to shove and two of the guys have to fight, that it is what it is. But while they can work together and team up, it's something that they're going to do. And I think that's a really cool thing, to be able to work with people that might eventually be your rivals.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Extreme Couture's got a really good program up there, and obviously Robert Drysdale in his own right is one of the best jiu-jitsu coaches in the nation, probably in the world. So that is awesome stuff. Well, thank you so much for taking your time to see this on Instagram at Your Favorite Juice Box. Check out, past highlights, everything, and make sure next Saturday tune in on ESPN Plus, UFC Seattle, Julius Walker versus Alonzo Menifield at the Intuit Dome. Can't wait, man. Any last words before we go out? Anything you like to finish up with?
Man, shout out to my team, my family, my coaches, my sponsors, everybody. Super excited for this Saturday. I'm not going out there to compete. I'm not going out there to fight. I'm going out there to kill. Gonna do what I can to get the victory. So I'm not satisfied with just making it there. I haven't celebrated yet, and I'll celebrate just a touch after this one, assuming I get the victory. But even then, the job's not finished until we get that belt on our waist. As a great man once said, "Job not finished." So let's go out there and take care of business.
Well, step one of the journey, man. Excited to see you take that first one. So
yes, sir.
Thanks so much for joining me, and we'll see you put it to action on Saturday.
Boom. I appreciate you.